The world needs strong women, women who will lift and build others, who will love and be loved, women who live bravely, both tender and fierce, women of indomitable will. Join us to hear stories of how a woman survived in the crocodile-infested jungle to another woman who broke her leg after a fall of 20 feet while hiking. And finally, the true story of a woman who nearly died from sunburn while immobilized for 4 days in the desert due to a broken pelvis. Welcome to Facts Fanatics. We are dedicated to bringing you the most shocking and inevitable real-life incidents that left our world stunned. In this video, we bring you the most astonishing survival stories of 3 women who accidentally got lost in the wild during their expeditions. Nothing went out of the blue that day. Shannon Fraser was on a trip with her fiancé to the Golden Hole swimming spot about an hour south of Cairns in Queensland, Australia. Everything was normal until the couple decided to walk near the forest, where Shannon somehow got separated from her fiancé and wandered into the wilderness. A t-shirt and a pair of leggings were all she had on her. That in no way was suitable to survive the harshness of the forest. Her fiancé, Heath Cassidy, called the police after searching for 3 hours. They immediately sent out a search party. Several rescue teams looked for her empty-handed. As the night approached, the hope of finding poor Shannon faded away. Not to forget the uniqueness and dangers of Australian forests. It won't be wrong to say that these forests are bound to kill any unprepared guest. They are not only hotter than most of the forests of the world, but also carry many fatal risks. Australia has the most poisonous snakes in the world, the deadliest spiders, and other nasty killer animals. A large population of crocodiles present here is well known for aiming wandered humans. Past 15 days in despair without any sign of her, the police feared her death. By now, if someone hadn't kidnapped or killed her, the crocs or some other creature may have made her their meal. But destiny never fails to surprise us. On October 7th, 16 nights after she first went missing, a banana farmer named Brad Finch saw a very rough-looking Shannon Fraser at a point only 30 meters away from where she got missing. Hurrying to nearby Innisfail Hospital, her dehydration and extreme sunburn were treated. Being bare-handed, wearing insufficient clothing, Shannon was lucky enough to survive the open wilderness. If she stayed a few days more there, we'd have seen her dead for sure. Brad Finch, the guy who first saw her, said, "Even now, it's pretty unbelievable. I had to think about it when I was telling the detectives, but if you'd seen her, you wouldn't doubt the story. It was the worst sunburn I'd ever seen, everywhere, almost bleeding. She had quite a big gash on one of her legs, which looked like it might have been done when she first got lost, that was healing up, but looked like it was pretty bad." After recovering physically and mentally from the trauma of the incident, Shannon gave many interviews in which she shared her hands-on survival experience with the world. She was lucky enough to be near the river that flows out of Mount Bartle Frere, which she used for quenching thirst. Food consisted of insects and sometimes small fish she caught with her hands. Everything she was wearing was torn off by the thick vegetation as she tried to move through the trees, which caused cuts and bruises all over her body. The sunburn she suffered was so severe that the skin had started to crack and bleed. She also had numerous deep splinters on her feet. Shannon describes how at one point she had to sleep on a rock in the middle of the river when she saw a huge crocodile and had to stay there for 3 days out of fear, catching the occasional tiny fish and burning up in the sun. Surprisingly, she stayed safe from crocodiles and anything fatal during her spree. Every night, crying herself to sleep and wanting to give up several times, but the thought of her young children kept her going. After complete healing, she gave many interviews about her ordeal, one of which included the following statement: "I feel like I've grown a bit wiser. I think I've aged a bit too. I won't take life for granted again. Life's too short." On 2019, May 8th, physical therapist and yoga instructor Amanda Eller lost her way in the Makawao Forest Reserve, Hawaii. It wasn't her first time going for a short trail walk there, but luck had other plans this time. She went off the path at one point to rest, but when resumed trekking, she got turned around. That's where her smallest mistake made a 3-mile hike a 17 days long misery. Amanda, following her gut feeling, walked continuously from 10:30 a.m. until around midnight the first day, looking for her car. The reserve she got lost in is more than 2,000 acres and is surrounded by vast acres of a dense forest full of steep ravines, lava rocks, giant ferns, and thick vegetation. As far as the temperature is concerned, the location can see the drop to the low 60s with high humidity, cool mist, and frequent rain. Amanda, at the time of getting lost, was just wearing a thin tank top and capri-length yoga pants, insufficient to protect her from the harsh surroundings. Leaving a water bottle, cell phone, and wallet in her car, Amanda could never imagine in her wildest dreams how long her return would take, as she had planned to be gone only for a short time. On the third day, when police officers and firefighters were searching for her, Amanda lost hopes of finding the trailhead and started looking for water instead. But her ordeal didn't end here. The situation got worse when she fell 20 feet off a cliff, fracturing her leg and tearing the meniscus in her knee. The next day, she lost her shoes in a flash flood, making her pace slower than before. Despite all the mishaps and challenges, Amanda didn't lose hope to live and get out of the forest. At night, she used ferns, leaves, and whatever she could find on the ground to cover herself. Her pitiful circumstances even forced her to sleep in the den of a wild boar and most of the nights in mud. She ate whatever she could find, including wild strawberries, guavas, plants, and moths that landed on her body. 17 days into her quest, thousands of volunteers were searching the jungles and streams nearby. They crawled the ravines, explored caves, free dove into pools, and navigated fast-moving streams. Others killed aggressive wild boars and checked their intestines for human remains. One volunteer also got attacked by a boar. On Friday afternoon, less than an hour after her family announced a $50,000 reward for information, rescuers found Amanda Eller with a broken leg, sunburns and scrapes, and a torn meniscus in her knee. On day 17, she was near a stream searching for some plant to eat for dinner and some place to sleep that wasn't directly in the mud when she saw a helicopter. She later told seeing multiple helicopters passing, but none could spot her. Amanda was airlifted to an airport, taken to a hospital, and gradually recovered. She was malnourished and dirty, but alive. This is what Amanda had to say after her dramatic rescue. "I wanted to give up, but the only option I had was life or death. I heard this voice that said, if you want to live, keep going, and as soon as I would doubt my intuition, I would try to go another way than where it was telling me. Something would stop me. A branch would fall on me. I'd stub my toe or I'd trip. So I was like, okay, there was only one way to go. The whole time I was going deeper into the jungle, even though I thought I was going back where I came. I was getting so skinny that I was starting to doubt if I could survive. I had begun to crawl instead of walk and faced a steep drop-off ahead that appeared impassable. I am forever indebted and overwhelmed by the number of people that came out to help me. It was pretty miraculous." In 2018, a London, England-based writer fell about 4.5 meters during a solo hike in Joshua Tree National Park near Palm Springs, California. What she had planned as a leisure walk turned into a life-changing experience for her. Lying on the desert floor, immobilized from a broken pelvis, all Claire could deduce was what a waste of time fear can be. Magically, she managed to survive for 4 days alone until the rescue helicopters found her, fighting the scorching 40°C heat. Her situation quickly turned awful. She was lying on the ground, unable to move, with no cell phone service and far off the marked trail. She could only react with a scream, enduring the next 3 nights on the sand, doing everything possible to shelter herself from the blistering sun and shaky nights. The strive to live even forced her to drink her own urine. Days were soaring hot. Nights were shattering cold. The temperature dropped and rose as it was mocking her helpless condition. Luckily, the Riverside County Sheriff's Department found her after friends noticed her absence on Instagram, and a neighbor found her car in the parking lot. On the 4th day, a rescue helicopter spotted her. Unable to land in the desert, rescuers hiked the trail to find her and airlifted her to the hospital. Claire admits becoming too comfortable hiking on her own before the fall that almost ended her life. None of her friends or family knew where she was or when she would be back. That's something she now considers a big mistake. Here are a few words from the survivor herself. "I had been lying injured in the desert for 3 days when I finally accepted that I might die as I drifted in and out of consciousness. I imagined my shattered bones decaying in the dust valley. I wasn't expecting my real regrets to be what they turned out to be. I was wasting so much of my life on the internet, on social media, using it as a way to just really curate the best parts of myself and keep the parts of myself I was ashamed of hidden away. I tried instinctively to stand, but couldn't sit. I could wiggle my toes and knew I wasn't paralyzed. In my mind, I was going, if I scream loud enough, maybe it'll just catch on a breeze and somebody in another part of the park will just happen to hear it. It doesn't matter how implausible that possibility is, you will hang on to it for dear life because that's all you have. I would think of the people in my life I wanted to see again. I was thinking of goals I still had for myself, and I am a very stubborn person. Those things can keep you going when everything else is against you." Despite her horrifying experience, she returned to the trail in Joshua Tree National Park in January 2019. "It sounds strange to say it was a nice moment to come to," she said. "There was so much gratitude there for the life that I had lived, and I didn't want to let go of that." The will to live and be is an innate characteristic of humans. You may have heard people saying, if you want to see your will to live, throw yourself in the sea. You will see yourself striving for life, leaving no stone unturned to be at the safe spot once again. We tend to ignore one basic fact about life each day, every day hustling in our daily routines, that being alive and living in itself is a priceless gift, the importance of which you only realize when you are about to lose it. The brave women in our stories here are living examples of courage and resilience. The women showed what feminine power is. There are many daring stories out there that are yet to be shared with the world. Let's hop on to the comment section and share any such story you have witnessed. Stay tuned with us for more extreme, real-life stories. P.S. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button.